watching our 24 News World News program. Next up are the headlines. President Tebboune meets U.S. Senior Advisor Massad Balas. Algiers and Washington stress strengthening strategic ties and continuing partnership while discussing key issues in the Arab world and Africa. Also in our news tonight, in Gaza, occupation fire kills more in Gaza City. Meanwhile, a baby dies in the cold, and Hamas says hundreds of martyrs' bodies are being held. And later on, in Sudan, the army pushes forward in the west, pledging to crush the rebellion. Amid the fighting, millions are returning home. Welcome back. First up in our news tonight, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune on Tuesday received the U.S. President's Senior Advisor for Africa, Arab Affairs and the Middle East, Massad Balas. Along with his delegation, the Algerian presidency said. The meeting was attended by Presidential Cabinet Director Boualem Boualem, Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf, Minister of State for Hydrocarbons and Mines Mohamed Arqab, the President's Diplomatic Affairs Advisor Omar Abba, and Algeria's Ambassador to Washington, Sabri Bouhadoum.
It
is a great honor for me to return to Algeria, and I once again feel the warm hospitality of the Algerian people. I would also like to express my gratitude to President Tebboune for the opportunity to engage in another fruitful discussion. I renewed with President Tebboune our shared commitment to strengthening our cooperation, particularly regarding peace building and addressing regional security concerns. We also acknowledge the significant potential for expanding our trade relations, building upon the solid foundations of economic cooperation between our two countries.
Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf on Tuesday met in Algiers with the U.S. President's Senior Advisor for Africa, Arab Affairs and the Middle East, Massad Balas, the Foreign Ministry said. The talks reviewed Algerian-American relations, with both sides stressing the need to strengthen strategic dialogue and build on the positive momentum of the partnership, especially in economic cooperation. Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf also exchanged views with the U.S. President's Senior Advisor Massad Balas on key developments in the Arab world and across Africa. The talks covered the situations in Libya, the Sahel and Sahara regions, and Western Sahara. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune on Tuesday received Ségolène Royal, President of the France-Algeria Association, according to the Algerian presidency. The meeting began privately before expanding to include Presidential Cabinet Director Boualem Boualem, Culture Minister Malika Bendouda, and the President's Diplomatic Affairs Advisor Omar Abba.
C'est pourquoi
Therefore, rebuilding the friendship between France and Algeria is a duty towards the younger generations on both sides of the Mediterranean, who seek nothing more than to develop their projects together. The history between France and Algeria is a wounded history full of unacceptable domination and violence, but it is also a history of struggle and resistance, intertwined fates, families on both shores, joint economic and cultural projects, partnerships and potential that has often been ignored and marginalized, and we must value them. We must put an end to the narrow political stances, provocations, and divisive rhetoric of those who do not want Algeria to progress, who still do not recognize its national sovereignty, its diplomatic role in the world, its policy of non-alignment, and its complete freedom to choose its alliances and causes.
Algeria has reaffirmed its commitment to deepening cooperation with Tunisia and strengthening bilateral ties. During a meeting with Tunisian President Kais Saied in Carthage on Monday, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf conveyed President Abdelmadjid Tebboune's greetings on the anniversary of the Said Sidi Youssef events, highlighting the depth of Algerian-Tunisian relations. and Tebboun's strong commitment to continued joint action between the two countries.
وبهذه المناسبة كان لي الشرف
On this occasion, I had the honor of conveying to His Excellency President Qais Said the greetings of his brother, President Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his sincere congratulations on this precious and cherished anniversary, deeply rooted in our shared memory. I also conveyed to His Excellency President Qais Said the great care and unwavering commitment of his brother, President Abdelmajid Tebboune, to continue in our joint work together in order to achieve further gains on the path of strengthening Algerian-Tunisian relations for the benefit of our two countries, our two peoples, and various spheres of our Arab, African, Islamic, and Mediterranean affiliations.
Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf says the two countries have reviewed their cooperation. It follows the latest session of the Algeria-Tunisia High Committee. The minister stressed the need to turn those talks into real projects to bring more momentum and concrete results to their partnership.
ومن هذا المنطلق شكل لقاؤنا اليوم فرصة.
For this perspective, our meeting today provided a valuable opportunity to express our shared satisfaction with the important outcomes and qualitative results of the 23rd session of the Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Committee held last month in Tunis. I listened with great interest and deep appreciation to the insightful analysis presented by His Excellency President Qais Said, which has translated these outcomes and results into tangible projects and concrete achievements that further enhance Algerian-Tunisian relations.
Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf is calling for urgent talks on Libya. He wants a meeting of the tripartite mechanism, that's Algeria, Tunisia and Egypt, to address the latest developments in the Libyan crisis. Attaf made the comments on Monday in Tunis after meeting with Tunisian President Qais Said. He says both leaders see this three-nation format as crucial and stress the imperative of ending the conflict.
وبقدر الأهمية التي
As much as they attach importance to strengthening relations between Algeria and Tunisia, the leaders of our two brotherly countries are equally keen on safeguarding the security and stability of their shared and immediate neighborhood and a common regional space. From this standpoint stems the significance of what brings us together today in Tunis, namely the convening of a new session of the tripartite neighboring countries mechanism, Algeria, Tunisia and Egypt, to discuss the latest developments in the Libyan crisis. This session comes as part of the reactivation of this important mechanism following the meetings held in Cairo and Algiers, with the aim of reaffirming in one unified voice the imperative of bringing this prolonged crisis to an end.
Minister Attaf added that the three neighboring countries seek only to support a Libyan-led political settlement to the crisis. Attaf stressed that Algeria, Tunisia and Egypt are the nations most affected by the conflict's fallout.
وليس لنا من غاية في ذلك غير الرغبة.
We have no objective in this regard other than the desire to support our Libyan brothers, assist them in overcoming their crisis, reunite their ranks, and unify their positions with a view to achieving the sought-after political settlement. Our three countries are the closest to the realities of the Libyan crisis and to its various parties. And our three countries are the sincerest and committed to bringing the Libyan crisis to an end and to preserving Libya's sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity, its land, people and institutions. In this context, I express to His Excellency President Qais Said our deep appreciation for the initiative of Sisterly Tunisia in convening this important meeting, which will be held today with the participation of the Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Libya.
The Algerian foreign minister stressed the need to create the right conditions for a solution to the Libyan crisis, away from foreign interference, rivalries and polarization that hinder progress. Let's take a listen again.
كما أكد في ذات السياق على قناعتنا الراسخة.
In the same context, I also reaffirmed our firm conviction that Libya's security is an inseparable part of the security of our three countries and of the stability of our shared regional space as a whole. Accordingly, the responsibility that rests upon us is to contribute to creating the appropriate conditions for a viable solution to the Libyan crisis, to help empower Libyans with ownership of the political solution to their crisis, and to participate in placing this solution beyond the reach of external interventions, rivalries, and polarizations that complicate, indeed prevent, the swift achievement of the desired settlement of the Libyan crisis.
On a related note, UN Special Representative Hannah Tata briefed the foreign ministers of Tunisia, Algeria and Egypt on the latest efforts to advance Libya's political process. The meeting took place in Tunis. Tata, who has the UN support mission in Libya, outlined the ongoing work to implement a political roadmap, including structured dialogue. In turn, the three ministers reiterated their full support for the UN's work to preserve Libya's unity and achieve stability. They pledged to continue cooperation with the mission. Algeria's Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, met with Niger's President Abdurrahman Tiani on Monday during a working visit to Niamey. Minister Arqab delivered a message of fraternal greetings from President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, emphasizing Algeria's commitment to strengthening ties and expanding cooperation in all fields. The meeting was attended by senior officials from both nations, including Niger's Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Justice and Petroleum, as well as the CEO of Algeria's state energy company, Sonatrach. For his part, Niger's president tasked Algerian Minister Mohamed Arqab with conveying his fraternal greetings and appreciation to President of the Republic Abdelmadjid Tebboune, reaffirming Niger's commitment to deepening bilateral cooperation and promoting African and South-South partnerships. He also highlighted the enduring friendship between Niger and Algeria, rooted in trust, solidarity, and shared African values of unity and mutual support. In Algeria's far southwest, the contours of a new economic era are taking shape with the launch of a full-scale operations at the Garj-Bilet iron ore mine. With estimated reserves of around 3.5 billion tons, the site ranks among the world's largest iron ore deposits. Marulio reports this time.
A strategic project Algeria is banking on to strengthen its national economy, boost exports beyond hydrocarbons, reduce reliance on imported iron ore, and create thousands of direct and indirect jobs.
We are speaking about one of the most important mineral complexes in Africa, containing over 3.5 billion tons of iron ore, if fully exploited and reaching the maximum production capacity, set as 50 million tons annually. We're talking about significant potential revenues that could greatly benefit the public treasury. This could be achieved by processing these vast quantities here in Algeria through establishing a downstream industry and numerous projects that would create a large number of jobs, both directly within the project or indirectly in related sectors. This project, alongside other initiatives, particularly in the beneficiation sector, is vital and considered a key driver for Algeria's economic takeoff.
Garj-Bilet is a genuine lever for diversifying the national economy, offering Algeria a strong opportunity to integrate into global raw material supply chains. Production capacity at the mine is expected to exceed 50 million tons of iron ore annually, a level that would position Algeria among the world's leading iron suppliers.
This project is considered one of the most important initiatives on which the Algerian government relies to diversify the Algerian economy beyond the hydrocarbon sector and to also increase non-hydrocarbon exports. Therefore, it has been carefully planned and its economic feasibility thoroughly studied from all perspectives.
The project will give Algeria an advanced competitive position in the international iron market and reinforce its status as a reliable exporter of mineral resources.
Garajbilat is a very large mining deposit that places Algeria among the top 10 producers of iron worldwide. Moreover, it's poised to become a crucial supplier of this material within global supply chains, particularly through partnership with China. Consequently, Algeria aims to achieve exports or export surpluses valued at up to the $10 billion annually. Naturally, this is also grants Algeria regional and international significance, given the demand of these countries for iron as a key input for their industries.
To accompany these major mining and railway projects, the Algerian government has adopted a wide-ranging training strategy. This includes opening tailored educational programs and supporting specialized institutions in the southwest region focused on mining professions and railway facility management. Algeria's strategy is not limited to Garajbilat alone. It also includes the integrated phosphate project linking Tibisa to Annaba in eastern Algeria, as well as the launch of zinc and lead mining projects in the north, part of a broader strategy to consolidate Algeria's role as a key supplier of strategic mineral resources on regional and global markets.
Algerian Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines Mohamed Arqab met with the Bunyan Holding CEO Turki bin Said Al Hamri to explore cooperation and investment in seawater desalination under Algeria's National Seawater Desalination Program, the ministry said on Tuesday. The talks focused on ways experienced companies can support Algeria's strategic water security projects. Al-Amri expressed the company's interest in expanding its presence in Algeria, including local production of desalination membranes and related equipment. Moving on to Gaza, Palestinian medical sources report 4 people were killed and others wounded on Tuesday in Gaza City's Tufah neighborhood. Sources at Al-Mahmadani Hospital say occupation forces opened fire near the Butch Cemetery outside designated safe areas. This comes as occupation forces conducted a series of airstrikes, vehicle-mounted gunfire, and artillery shelling across multiple areas of the Gaza Strip. A 12-day-old infant has died in Gaza Strip from exposure to extreme cold, according to the Strip's health ministry. The baby died at a Rantisi hospital after being in a tent amid a severe winter storm. Officials say this brings the number of child fatalities in Gaza to 11 since the start of winter. Hamas said the Zionist occupation is still holding the bodies of hundreds of Palestinian fatalities, including those taken from Gaza during the war, as well as others retained for decades in so-called numbered graves. In a statement issued on Tuesday, the movement said the occupation continues to withhold the bodies from their families and has failed to provide information on some of them, adding that the remains of around 10,000 Palestinians are believed to be buried under the rubble of destroyed buildings.
The Zionist occupation authorities continue to hold hundreds of the bodies of Palestinian martyrs, whether those abducted from the Gaza Strip during the war of extermination or those held for decades in numbered graves, refusing to hand them over to their families or provide information about some of them. This is a brutal crime and a blatant violation of human values amid suspicious international silence regarding the resolution of this humanitarian issue. At the same time, the suffering of our Palestinian people in Gaza continues, as do the sufferings of the families of about 10,000 martyrs whose bodies remain under the rubble of destroyed buildings as a result of the genocidal war committed by the Zionist occupation over 2 full years.
In southern Lebanon, 3 civilians were killed in Zionist airstrikes overnight and Tuesday morning. Official Lebanese media reports 1 person was killed when a motorcycle was struck in the town of Batulia. Separately, an Israeli occupation drone strike hit an SUV on the Doha-Kafr Oman road, killing 2 civilians, one of whom was an Egyptian national. Shifting focus to the war in Sudan, the army says its forces have engaged in fierce battles with the rapid support forces west of the country. A spokesperson for the allied armed groups told All24 News TV that the army and its supporting forces have taken full control of several towns in South Kordofan state, including Dilling and Kartala. They claim the operations inflicted heavy losses on the RSF in both personnel and equipment. The head of Sudan's Transitional Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has vowed to decisively defeat the rapid support forces, which he termed a rebellion. Speaking at a graduation ceremony for intelligence personnel on Monday, al-Burhan said state forces stand with the people to eradicate it. He warned that any leniency would be met with firmness and stressed that the security is now the responsibility of all citizens. Now to the deepening humanitarian crisis in the country. The International Organization for Migration reports more than 3 million displaced Sudanese have now returned home, both from within the country and from abroad. That's a 10% jump from the previous month. But the IOM notes the vast majority, 83%, are people returning to their homes within Sudan, and 17% are returning from other countries. And the total number of internally displaced people remains staggeringly high at over 9 million, spread across 185 locations. Looking eastern Ukraine, officials say a Russian glide bomb struck the city of Slavyansk Tuesday morning, killing a couple and injuring their son. Five other homes were damaged. And in the south, the Odessa region came under a large-scale attack involving 50 Russian drones. At least one person was killed there. On a related note, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched over 50 drones at Odessa in what he described as a brutal attack. Posting on X platform, he warned that such strikes undermine diplomatic efforts and partner support to end the war. Odessa military chief shared photos showing two residential buildings hit, leaving at least 2 dead and 23 others injured. The Russian Defense Ministry said its forces have captured 17 towns and over 500 square kilometers in Ukraine since the start of the year. Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov added Tuesday that northern forces are continuing to expand their security perimeter along the Sumy and Kharkiv border regions. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says Europe cannot defend itself without the United States. In a speech to European lawmakers on Monday, he stated that while European nations should take on greater responsibility for their own security, as requested by Donald Trump, it must happen within the transatlantic alliance framework. This comes as calls grow in Europe for more strategic autonomy.
So when President Trump is doing good stuff, I will praise him. And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other. And why do we need each other? I tell you. First of all, because also the US needs NATO.
In Venezuela, prices are soaring and purchasing power is collapsing. The country's economic crisis is worsening, fueled by political instability and a deeply uncertain outlook. Usama Ayadi has more in this report.
The situation for Venezuelans has not become any better. Today, a tense political situation and an economic crisis have exhausted the daily lives of citizens. Soaring prices and falling wages continue to burden family budgets in Venezuela.
What we want is to work and for things to improve, for the changes that are made to be for the better. to improve the economic situation of the people and thus rise up. I have clients who are educated people, and often they don't have enough money to buy things. Most of us walk around with a calculator in our hands, calculating what we can and cannot afford to buy.
The U.S. military intervention that ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro plunged the country into a turbulent period of political and economic instability. Venezuelans hope that expanding trade relations with the United States will lead to increased business investment, job creation, and currency stability.
I'm concerned about the economic situation because if you don't work, you don't eat. The economic situation is worrying because you work but you don't earn enough money. And the political situation is also something that worries me because with everything that happens, it was a horrible experience, but let's hope that everything improves, that it will be for the best. That's what we want, for everything to be for the best.
According to the International Monetary Fund's latest projections released in October, Venezuela's inflation rate in 2025 was 548%. The official exchange rate is approximately 344 bolivars to the dollar, but much a higher parallel market rate is often used as a benchmark of the official equivalent to less than $1 at the official rate. Some Venezuelans hope that U.S. brokered oil deals will inject liquidity into the already fragile economy.
Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, says the country expects a major boost in oil investment. Speaking at a meeting of the state oil company, Rodriguez projected investments under new production sharing contracts will jump to about $1.4 billion this year, up from roughly $900 million last year. The comments came during discussions on reforming Venezuela's main oil law to formally adopt such contracts. A severe winter storm has plunged large parts of the United States into darkness and chaos. Heavy snowfall, more than a foot deep in some 20 states, caused widespread power outages Monday, leaving over 600,000 customers without electricity, primarily across the southern parts of the country. The storm has also crippled air travel. Flight tracking data shows roughly 5,220 flights were canceled, and more than 6,500 others were delayed by Monday evening. And that's the end of our news program. Thank you for tuning in. Have a peaceful night.